We've talked about at length how cotton is a cellulose. It's made about 94% cellulose when it's picked, but in finished fabrics, it's about 99% cellulose, and that's just because in the production process, it is stripped of the outer layers um, of hydrogen bonds that are on it, and you actually get more cellulose out of it as you get it through the finishing process. So, you know, since there are, again, we going with the chemistry. My husband's happy again. We're going with the molecular makeup as we um, add chemical treatments or finishes. Um, we change the chemical makeup of it. So the one treatment that is most often used on cotton is called mercerization, and that's just treating yarns and fabrics with sodium hydroxide. You may or may not know that that chemical composition is NaOH, little n, sorry, big N, little a. Um, Hydroxide, and it just causes a permanent physical change. So essentially what happens is the fiber swells. That cross section that we saw earlier that went from that was a U goes to a rounder shape, and mercerization increases absorbency. It improves dyeability, fabrics. So think of it this way, since it's a natural fiber. Um, it goes through the process that your hair goes through, like when you dye it, right? So what happens when you color your hair, right? You strip your hair fiber, you strip that fiber of its outer layer, and what's left is exposed and more able to be colored, to be altered. So that's what happens with cotton, and that's why the finished product is 99% cellulose. Ammonia is also used as an alternative to mercerization, and fabrics treated with ammonia tend to have really good luster and viability. And these fabrics that are created from these fibers that have been treated with ammonia tend to be wrinkle resistant, and they're not as stiff and harsh as mercerized fabrics. Let's talk about aesthetics, right? Let's talk about properties, which we always talk about the properties of fiber. And if you look to the image on the left, some of the aesthetics, and also we'll have there's a table coming on the next page. But cotton is comfortable. It's appropriate for year-round use. It's the fiber that is most preferred for warm weather apparel, especially when the climate is hot and humid, and for many interior items. So, just about everything that you use in your bathroom is made. Your bath rug and towels; those are going to be cotton garments. And cotton, while many of the fibers that we've talked about this semester you may not have in your closet, you definitely have cotton in your closet. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You have cotton in your home, like I said, in your clothes, or in some of the products that you use. So let's talk about some of the aesthetics. Aesthetically, cotton is attractive for consumers, both in apparel and interior uses. Cotton essentially has a matte appearance and low luster, and it's able to be blended with many other fibers. And I can get that out. Drape, luster, texture, and hand. I was trying to say luster and texture in the same word. Drape, luster, texture, and hand are impacted really by the choice of yarn size and type, and what kind of finishes are used. And cotton fabrics range from very sheer and soft to crisp, sheer voils to really fine chintzes to really sturdy denims and corduroys. And if you pull out your swatch book, which our next textile evaluation activity, you'll be looking at cotton. Um, Not this module, in the next module. You will see that cotton is the one fabric that we have pages and pages of, because it has so many different end uses. Cotton has great durability. It's a medium strength fiber. It's 30% stronger than when wet. It has good abrasion resistance, even though heavy fabrics may be more abrasion resistant than thinner fabrics. It has excellent comfort. It makes, very comfortable fabrics because of its high absorbency and soft hand, and, good heat and electrical connectivity. Like cotton generally doesn't have static, doesn't have static cling, doesn't have that static buildup that many of the synthetic fibers that we're going to talk about later is gonna have. It's, like I've said a couple times, it's good for use in hot and humid climate. It absorbs moisture and feels good against the skin. And moisture just passes through the fabric, right? So if you sweat in a cotton garment, you'll sweat through the garment, but the sweat doesn't stay on your skin. It has good appearance retention. It looks good. It bounces back. However, the one thing that cotton does have is it does shrink, which is the one challenge for appearance retention. It just happened to me. I accidentally washed a 100% cotton shirt that I had been dry cleaning. It's a t-shirt, long story, but it shrank, and I was like, no, it's a baby shirt now. I could never wear this shirt again. I was sad about it. But it shrinks, right? Unless it's shrinkage resistant, it's going to shrink. So, untreated cottons shrink less when they're washed in cold water or drip dried, and they shrink more when they're washed in warmer water and tumble dried. And actually, that's normally what I do with my cotton items. I either dry clean them or I don't put them in the dryer. I hang them up to dry, but then I have to iron them because they're wrinkled. The benefit with cotton, though, if some items, if they shrink, they stretch again. So, for instance, denim. So you could wear your denim jeans and you had them on a couple times, and they feel bigger, and then you wash them and they feel tighter. It's actually a good thing that it stretches and it has some give and some give and get. That is one of, especially for denim items, that's one thing that it will do. They may be real tight when you put them on for that day, but by the end of the day, they have recovered to the right size. Okay. Care. Cotton can be machine washed and dried. It less wrinkling occurs if they're removed immediately after drying, if they're not 100%. Cotton is harmed by heavy duty detergents and bleach, and we know that, right? Even a nice white cotton shirt, if you put too much bleach on it, it starts to get thin, and that's just basically the breakdown of the cotton fiber. So here we go, right? The summary, and I'll make sure that this summary is listed in the module. But it has a matte and pleasant luxure. Its drape is across the spectrum. It could be super soft to extremely stiff. It has a good texture, and again, just like the drape, the hand could be smooth to rough. Great durability, great comfort, and great absorbency, but very poor thermal retention. So a cotton garment is not going to necessarily keep you warm because it's not going to keep the heat from escaping your person. Okay, so again, pull out your chart of characteristics of a garment, and these are the characteristics of cotton. In the first part of the lecture, we talked a little bit about sustainability of cotton, and there's some challenges, right? So it takes a lot of water to produce. It takes a lot of manpower to produce. It requires, pesticides and chemicals to pesticides and insecticides to keep chemicals and disease off of it. And even though with all of those things, it is considered a renewable resource, but is not produced without some environmental impact. So, we talked about sustainability again in the first in the first part of the lecture, and it's water intensive. It causes erosion because of the soil. When I talked about earlier about genetically modified cotton, cotton that's being created to reduce the yields of pesticides and herbicides, the yield is usually a little bit higher than a conventional cotton, with no loss in fiber quality, no loss in the characteristics that make it most important. But there's always still a concern. So organic cotton is an effort to provide consumers and producers with more information at the point of purchase. And organic cotton is produced following state fiber certification standards on land where organic farming practices have been used for at least 3 years. All right, so again, let's say that again. Organic cotton is produced following state fiber certification standards on land where organic farming practices have been used for at least 3 years. And what those organic farming practices include is that no commercial pesticides or fertilizers are used on that farm. And the pest management systems have to be used to help decrease pesticides. So basically, taking one insect that eats a boll weevil to reduce pesticides. So there are actually two types of organic cotton, of organic cotton, and one is 100% organic. There's also one that's called a transition cotton, and that's just produced on land where organic farming practices exist, but not that 3-year minimum, or that 3-year straight has not been met. There also is another term which is known as green cotton, and that just describes a fabric that has been washed with mild natural-based soap, so it hasn't been bleached or treated with other chemicals, except possibly some natural dyes. So even within the organic cotton movement, there are versions of what organic cotton is. But the thing for us to note is that it's state certified. So the U.S. Department of Agriculture determines or tests, evaluates, puts the stamp of approval on what organic cotton is. Okay. And organic cotton is more expensive than conventional cotton. That's because the additional costs are related to a lower fiber yield per acre, and the processing actually is what costs even more, because the processing facilities have to be free of hazardous chemicals. And just because there's a smaller amount of organic cotton to be purchased, those who use it pay a higher price. So companies that make organic cotton fibers, yarn, and fabrics pay a higher price, and of course they pass a higher price on to us as consumers.